All right, we are in executing now. We've made it to executing, from planning, initiating, planning, executing. This is where the rubber meets the road. We start working. Biggest amount of questions on the PMP exam go from here. Not a lot of processes, so how does that happen, right? But really easy once we understand it, but we just got to dive down to the fundamentals. So I'm going to get out of the way of a long intro, and I'm going to say, let's go to the video. Watch the video. I'm here to help you. Keep rolling. Hey guys, this is Scott Payne from PM Master Prep, and in this video, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about the executing process group. Now, more specifically, I'm going to teach you how to ace 31% of your PMP exam. Now, that's a big chunk, so this is a very important video. So let's get into it. First thing I'm going to teach you is the 3 key whys that are driving executing. Now, we always start with the why, and you have to understand why we're doing these processes within executing process group in order for you to get all 31% of the questions right. You have to understand the why. It's really going to help you on the exam. The next thing I'm going to teach you is what is actually accomplished in the process group. If we nail down why and what, we're getting closer to being able to answer all our questions. And then I'm going to simplify how executing is conducted, how we produce what we need to produce. So if we understand the why, the what, and the how, then we're ready to roll on exam day. We're going to get 31% of the exam right, and we're going to get a great score in the PMP exam. So let me jump into it. Now, as we said, we're in the executing process group. Look at it right here. I'm going to just cover some basics. Like we said, it's 10 of the 49 process groups. So if we came from planning, it has all the way top to bottom. It has a lot more processes. This only has 10 of the 49, so about 20%, but it's 31% of your total PMP questions. So that's crazy. Smaller number of processes, the highest percentage of questions on the actual exam. So every one of these processes, you get a bigger bang for your buck by studying. By studying these and really getting these down, you're really going to have a really good chance to get more questions right on the PMP exam. So this should be like gold to you guys to go, man, I only got to get 10 processes nailed down to get 31% of my PMP exam. And we know around 60 something is where we pass. So we're halfway there by getting these done. So let's figure out how we do it, right? And so this process group is all about producing the project objectives. What we're set forth in this project to do. What are the deliverables? This is where we actually create them, okay? And so we produce the deliverables. This is where we actually produce the deliverables. And honestly, this is where a ton of our budget is spent. So you got to know those things. This is where we're going to spend our budget over these 10 processes, okay? So, all right. So let's go through the why. This is what it looks like. We're right in the middle of our project, in the heart. This is where the grinding gets done, the work gets done. And the 3 key whys are as follows. We want to produce the deliverables, right? That's why we're doing this project. We're producing something. We've set a scope. We've set an objective. This is where the rubber meets road, and we produce the deliverables. So why do we exist in this process group? Produce what we said we do. Pretty simple, right? The next thing is we want to maintain quality. We can't just put something out there that's not good. We have quality standards, and the reason why we have processes in here is to maintain the quality that we must establish. So we produce the deliverables, we maintain quality. Those are strong whys that push us to the way in which we act. Okay, and the last thing is, it's very important, we want to make sure that the stakeholders are engaged. It's not just about doing the work, staying in a room, coming out and saying, guys, we did it. We have to have the stakeholders engaged through the entire process for a couple different reasons. First of all, that's who we're producing things for. We're affecting these different departments. We're producing it for our stakeholders. So we got to keep them engaged out of our progress. And the other thing is we have to get them to, we have to understand where they are, how they're feeling about the projects. Dissenters or people that have gone off or negative about our project, we have to know that. And we also have to get feedback about how things are going. So staying engaged with them is critical. We're going to learn a lot. The project's going to help it be easier to navigate it. It's just a better world. So that's why one of our 3 key whys is keep the stakeholders engaged. If we can do all 3 of those things, it really informs what we're doing. So produce the deliverables. That's why we're here. Maintain the quality. We got to produce what we said we were in that sense. And then we got to keep the stakeholders engaged because they're critical to what we're trying to do. So those are the 3 whys that drive all the actions in these 10 processes. So let's go a little deeper. All right, let's talk about what is actually done in this executing process group. We said 10, you should see now, 10 or 10 processes. And as we look toward the left, we see that we have, let's count them out. Integrating, that's 1. Quality, 2. Resource, 3. Communicating, 4. Risk, 5. Procurement, 6. Stakeholder, 7. So we have 7 of the knowledge areas represented. Okay, so it's a good amount of knowledge areas. And what are we actually trying to do for objectives? All right, so the first thing, how are we going to do this work? Let's think about it. We got to produce this work at the quality and keep everybody engaged. How are we going to do it? Can't do it alone. Not just me and you working on this project. We got to build and maintain a team. So that's why down here, if we look a little bit below, resource management section, there's 3 processes: acquire team, develop team, manage team. Just as the name states, that's what we're doing. We're bringing in our resources, our experts, our SMEs, the people that are going to do the work, okay? And then we're going to go forth. And so to complete all the project work. So in doing that, how we get this stuff done, the output of those is we have project team assignments, obviously, who's doing what and when they're there. The resource assignments, that's the physical resources that we use. And the resource calendar, what things are available and when. So when you think about building a team, those are key things. So we know we have to do work. That's our why. We know to do it, we have to build a team. That's the what. And then how, we got to have assignments. We got to have resource calendars. We got to make sure everybody's available, all these things. And that's just getting the ball rolling. And as we move in the output number 2 on this one, it's team performance assessments. We're going to keep evaluating our team, coaching them, developing them. I'm a big proponent of servant leadership. So we're out there with the people and we're guiding and we're coaching and we're building with them. So we're going to give constant assessments back to say, hey, how we're doing, because we want to make sure that we can improve quality of our employees as we go through the project. So that's good. And then also, let's not think that all the work has to be done internal. A lot of times we're using procurements to get work done outside, either bringing people to complement our team or subcontracting the work in a sense to have them do it. So one of our outputs could be selected sellers and agreements where applicable. So that's down in our procurement management knowledge area, to saying we're strategically using these procurements to serve our project. Okay, so that's where we're building our team, both internal and external, to get us going there. And why are we doing it? It's to complete the work, to produce what we're trying to produce, the deliverables that we're in the game to produce. Okay, and so the project management plan defines what we're trying to do here and how we're going to try to do it. And then so we're trying to satisfy the project requirements at the quality standard that we demanded. That's what we said earlier. And as we do that, let's think about what happens. We're going to need to monitor it. Next process group is monitoring and controlling. So as you're doing the work, you're not just going to produce deliverables, you're going to be producing data. Work performance data as you go through. And that's just the facts. Think of it as just facts. There's no interpretation in this. It's just the machine is putting out facts of how we're doing, what's been done, that we can use in later processes to evaluate. Okay, so we're going to produce facts as we go through here. And then we're also going to have quality reports and test and evaluation documents. Think about the QA, quality assurance. We're going to be monitoring our process as we go through. And if we look at this quality management knowledge area right there, number 8, that is our QA functionality. That's where we go and we're assessing how we're doing, looking at the work, seeing how the work is actually being performed so that we can maintain the certain amount of quality that we want to. So that's another output. The other thing is everything doesn't always go rosy. We all know that, right? So we can have issue log. We're going to produce an issue log and we're going to update it all the time with new issues that we project and that we have. Then change requests will come out of that. Hey, we need to adjust. We're off our performance, which we'll get into the monitoring and controlling world. We're off our performance standard that we set, our baseline. We need to adjust because we found this problem or we didn't realize this was happening. So we're going to have change requests, a lot of change requests. And they're going to go through a distinct path, the change loop or the change flow like we call it. There's another video on the change flow. And then the lesson learned register. As we go, we want to contain or bring in and retain all this knowledge that we have. And we do that by retaining the lessons learned. We're doing that all the time. So what I talked through right here, the issue log, the change request, lessons learned register, it feels iterative, right? It feels like we're doing that a lot. And this whole process group is very, very iterative. You're always going back. You're doing work, you're evaluating it, you're coming back, you're making adjustments. And as you're going through change requests, which we'll learn about later, a change request is proposed and evaluated. If it's approved, then it'll go and change the actual way we're doing the work in direct and project management work. So it's cyclical, it's iterative. The same thing is when we have issue logs and we're updating them, everything's iterative as we go through. I know that it feels like we go down and we go to the next process group, but everything wraps around in an iterative circle in a sense. And then the last thing we produce is those deliverables. That's what we're in the game for, right? We're trying to produce these deliverables. And those deliverables will be produced, and then they'll go to the next process group where they'll be evaluated on different characteristics. And then eventually, in closing, they'll be handed to the customer. Okay, so we'll go through that later, but that's what we're trying to produce. We're trying to complete the work, but don't forget the data that we produce. Don't forget the quality reports as we go and do quality assurance and evaluations. And don't forget, hey, we're identifying issues, we're writing them down. We're generating tons of change requests most likely because everything doesn't go great, but we're going to adjust as we go because we're going to be engaged with those things. And then we're going to learn things. Man, that worked really well. That didn't work well. Let me write that down, so pass it on for the next project. So really, really important. And that happens now. Because at the end, we want to document all this stuff, but it's good that we have it now. Otherwise, we're going to forget it. We're going to be on to the next project. We got to do it. And the most important things, we're producing deliverables. Let's remember that. All right. So the last thing is, like we said, we're collecting, storing, and communicating this project information, both for the internal team to distribute and external to specific stakeholders. We have that communication plan, management plan. All right. So we know this is the frequency that we have to send things to different stakeholders. We know this is where we're going to post things to keep everybody informed. This is where we're going to talk and communicate everything. We're going to satisfy the needs of our stakeholders to keep them involved, keep them engaged, and get information back that we need. So we're going to have constant project communications in the strategic ways, push, pull, all these different ways that you're going to learn about that we have to do in this process group, okay? So it's really important communication. And that communication and stakeholder engagement, those areas, they're interlocked. Start thinking of those together. That's really how we communicate. We got to engage our stakeholders. How are we going to do it? Communication. So those things weave together, and that's the constant purpose. So when we understand what we're really trying to do is we're building a team to get the work done, right? And then we're developing the team as we go through. And then we're actually completing the work, direct and managed project work. That top process over there, get the work done. And we know that we got to evaluate it with QA. That's that managed quality section. And we know we have to record our lessons learned, record our issues, implement change requests at the top in direct managed work, but submit change requests as we get through. So we're going to do those things and then always use the communication and the stakeholder management together. We're communicating, we're keeping people involved, we're getting feedback back, and we're doing it. So this is an iterative, get it in your brain, iterative process. Producing, being very engaging. That's what we're doing and executing, okay? All right, so now that we've covered the objectives, we went from the why to the what to the how that we went through top to bottom. Now, let's go just like we did in planning, top to bottom. Start with direct and managed project work and managed project knowledge. Those are the first ones in integration management. Remember, integration management is the project manager's responsibility. Big deal there. Hit on that all the time. You've got to start integrating your team, working your team, developing your team, putting them through, and you're going to start there. Let's go deep into that process. Let's take our quiz after that box and really understand how we know that, executing integration management intersection, and then let's methodically work through. Always focus on the case stories with John. Learn through those, okay? And then go to the simulator all the time. Retake quizzes, focus on your weaknesses, and engage different people. You can email me, Scott at PM Master Prep. You can go on the site, PM Master Prep, and go to the group chat. You can go to the Facebook exclusive group that you have access to. There are tons of resources out there for you. So go through each process, go through each box, learn this thing. Remember, we're playing for 31% of the PMP exam game in this process. So it really matters what you know here. It's only 10 processes. You can do this. So jump into that first process and I'll see you there.